Hey, bud. So a friend of mine said, what's a tractor like that worth when you get done with it? I said, I'm not sure. Probably $2,000, $2,500 if you're lucky. He said, well, how long does it take to restore a tractor like that? I said, well, I've been, working on it here and there for the last year, and I probably got another year or so to put it back together. I'm not working hard on it or anything. He said, well, how much money do you have invested in something like that when you get done with it? I said, I really don't want to talk about that. So we went to CarQuest. We picked up a case of brake clean. We're getting ready to take that transmission housing that's sitting right down there, and we're going to spray that out with the brake clean, get all the other parts cleaned up, get everything set up right here. And we're going to start putting this thing back together. Hopefully we'll have the transmission, the bull gears, and the axle tube put together sometime this month. Let's get started. All right, guys, so we took this transmission housing out and we sprayed it out with a couple cans of brake clean. Our next step is going to be to press this bearing down inside here, right about there. All right, so we threw the appropriate piece on top there, and that is pressed in. Now we're just going to set it back over on the workbench and fine tune it. Just tap it up and down with a hammer if we need to. So I believe the first thing in is going to be this shaft, and then we're going to have to set the gears in place. So we got all of our bottom gears in, and we have our top slide. We have our, I guess that's an idler gear, or I'm not sure what they call that, a reverse gear. But we got all that in. We are going to have to pull these slides back out and take our sliders off, because we have to put our input shaft in through here, and that input shaft is pretty long. That thing is right here. So I really didn't want to have that sticking out the front of my transmission while I'm trying to put all this together. So we'll just have to remove these, put the slider gears on the input shaft, and then put these sliders back in. So yeah, the reason I don't do how-to videos is because I got a mess of tools here, mess of tools there, rags, parts, and this is the most important thing right here. I'm back and forth, making sure I'm putting the right part in the right place, getting everything cleaned up. We got a case of this brake parts cleaner, and we've been spraying everything down with that as we put it in. So the next step is going to be to throw that differential in that rear housing, and then these two bearing cups, or I'm not sure what they're called, they'll be going in next. And those bearing cups, they get screwed. One gets screwed in here, and then the other one gets screwed in over here. So that's going to be our next step, to get that all washed down, get these all washed down, and get those in place. Here we go. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen how to drive stuff in with a press, but we'll go ahead and film this for you. We're just going to press a seal into where that bearing plate goes in for the differential. Here we go. It's as easy as that. Hey guys, while we're on this press, let me just show you something. There's a couple of modifications that I did to this, and I'm going to show you one of them. So this is the handle that you pump it with, but on the pump, they just had a little indentation on here. So I went ahead and drilled that out and put a cotter key in there. So when you stick this handle in there, you can lock it right onto that cotter key. What I was having problems with is as I was pumping it, this handle would go all the way through, and it was just a pain in the gazip. So I went ahead and drilled that out, put a cotter key in there, and quick fix for a cheap pump. So that was one thing I did. The other thing that I did was, you know, we looked around this thing and I said, where am I gonna put this handle? You know, am I gonna set it up here? Where am I gonna put this handle? Well, I have a 3D printer, so we went in there and we 3D printed these little jobbers right here, and it works out real good. You can just lay the handle right in there. That way it don't roll off or anything. And I just, you know, I didn't make it real tight on the dimensions. I made it so that it would fall in there and stay. So there's two cheap modifications that you can do to a Harbor Freight press. One is to keep the handle from sliding through, and the other one is just to keep the handle on the machine. All right, and while we're at it, we'll take you along for this adventure. Show you, you know, what I do. So we went about this a different way. Rather than trying to stick it in from the side, we went ahead and put this on the side and then put it in from the top. Now we're just going to tap it down. Grab a ratchet here with a short extension. So now that we have this bearing cup in, we'll go ahead and lay this on the other side. I'm currently warming up the other bearing so it'll slide on there nice and easy, and then we'll put the other bearing cup on there. We got to get it cleaned up first, and we'll actually just roll this transmission over and stick it in from the other side. Let me show you guys what I have here. So on the bottom side, I actually have that bearing sitting in that bearing cup. That bearing cup is already tightened up. And this thing is just sitting in here. We'll show you what that looks like on this side. So now I'm going to go over there and grab that that warmed bearing. I'm going to clean it and stick it in here, and then we'll put this bearing cap on this side. Put the seal in, get it on. You know, during the disassembly process here, we ding these shims up pretty good. So if they're dinged like that, what I'll do is I'll take them off. And I have this flat pair of pliers, and I'll just kind of smooth that out with the pliers. And then I'll take that brass hammer on an anvil and just kind of tap that area so it's nice and flat. That way I don't have to risk it getting rolled up like it is right here when I put it together. All right, so both of the bearing caps are on. The next step is going to be to wrap a string around here with a scale, and I believe you have to pull 35 pounds of pressure to make this spin. But everything is going together real good. We'll look inside the transmission here. You can see my gears are spinning. Everything looks good so far. Sounds good too. Not real loud. Starting to get real around here now, boys. We're putting the axle tube on right now. So we've already calibrated this and everything looked good there. So now we're putting the axle tube on. Can't put the other bull gear on. I got to reassemble those. I got a lot of cleaning to do on those yet. We could probably put the rear plate on and the PTO. That's probably what I'm going to do next. All right, guys, I know you'll get a kick out of this one. These are my axle shafts that go on the final drives. And guess where we're getting ready to put these? I'll show you. Good place for them. All right, guys, so we put the actual shaft in the freezer. We put the bearing over there in the heat, and yeah, we got that bearing pressed on there right where it needs to go. You know, when you're pushing these seals in and stuff, I already had the shaft set on this. This is actually a nut for one of the axles. I'm going to set that nut down over there. And then I have a socket that's just deep enough that it'll allow me to press with the press against this socket and set that seal. So we'll set the camera up over at the press and I'll show you how that's going to work. So I'm not going to lie to you. I tried beating a seal in with a hammer, just tapping around it. That don't work. No matter how hard I tried, it would kick over to the side and get locked up, and I didn't want to ruin it, so I'd pop it back out. This press is the way to go. So now we'll go ahead and set this camera up. I'll probably just lock it on there and have it shine in there, and we'll push that down in there. You'll see it happen. And that's how easy the press makes it. All right, guys, we got that back cover on. The bolts are not tight, but I wanted to show this to you. So this shaft right here, when it goes through there, it has a little pulley on it for your PTO. So you push that down, you move it one way or the other, and that engages or disengages your PTO. Well, you have to look through this hole, and I know I can't get in there with the flashlight and the GoPro, but yeah, you have to literally see if I can light that up somehow. Ain't gonna work. But yeah, I got the PTO hooked up, so that was a pain in the, well, you know what it is, but had to take the plug out and use that as a visual hole so I could line that up and get that locked in there. So now, there you go. As I move the PTO handle, you can see that that is moving back and forth in that little observation hole, better known as a fill plug for your transmission. So yeah, now we're just going to tighten the bolts up on the back and move on. Well, must have done something right here. If I spin the front shaft, the PTO does not turn. But if I engage the PTO, I turn the front shaft and the PTO turns. So I must have done something right there. And then this is tight as everything, which is what I wanted. Put it in reverse, put it in first, second, and third. Nice and tight. Everything is tight there. So real happy with the way this turned out so far. And if you stick your finger in there, you can feel the differential turning when it's in first, reverse, second, and third. All new seals, all new gaskets. The only thing that I was a little disappointed in myself was, and I wasn't going to wait because it was in good shape, there is an O-ring on this assembly, back inside where all the shims are, there's an O-ring tucked in there, and I did not get a new O-ring for that, so we used that old O-ring. But everything else, front to back, top to bottom, is all brand new seals, brand new gaskets.